Sanbonani, Molweni, Dumelang. We're back. It's been a while, but we have been here. We've been working, but also been spending some time in communities. We've been engaged in Pretoria. We've been in Soweto. We've been in Cape Town, in various townships, just engaged on these issues, these very issues that we're going to talk about today. If you know anything about me, it is that I am passionate about small businesses in South Africa. I do believe that with the right support, with the right legislative frameworks, with the right tools, with the right funding, small businesses in this country can and must become the backbone of our economy. And so today I'm with an entrepreneur, David, and we're going to talk about some of the realities of being a small business owner, some of the realities of running a business in South Africa, because as I always share, I sit in the portfolio committee for trade, industry and competition, as well as for small business development. And some of the things that we are working on there, that we're driving, some of the policies that we're driving, we do so having been informed by what you tell us. In fact, all of them, we do so having been informed by what you tell us are the needs for your businesses. So David, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so tell us about your business. What business are you in? When and how did you get into it? I know you have 3 businesses, you've already told me, but tell us about the one.
Okay, so the one business I have is a company called New River Properties, and that company I started in 2007, way back in the day. And it had its ups and downs, it had its challenges, particularly not knowing what to do, where to go, and how to find out things. We started off more on the real estate side of things, and with all the challenges in terms of the red tape that the real estate faced, we moved more into the construction side of things, property maintenance and construction work. And so that's where we find ourselves these days. In the construction industry more than real estate.
So you're literally building South Africa.
So
practically
building and maintaining as
building
far as
and
we
maintaining.
can take. Yes.
Tell me, what does it take to get into the construction industry? What do you need? What are the requirements? I know that there's various tiers of compliance, and you're able to engage in business based on the category that you're in. But what are the legislative requirements? What are the regulatory requirements to be in construction?
So to partner with government particularly becomes very administrative, because you have to be registered at the various boards, and you have to start out with CSD, then you have to progress to your CIDB, and then you have to progress to BIBC, and then you have to progress to NHBRC. And the red tape just goes on and on and on and on. And these things become expensive because it's annual fees. It's required in terms of partnering with government. And so your monthly expenditures and your annual expenditures becomes just higher and higher and higher, and you haven't even signed the deal.
Sure. Before you even sign the deal, you're already spending so much money.
You're already spending.
Tell me about CIDB and the experience with CIDB, because when we engage a lot with SMMEs, and I found this particularly in towns like George, Oudtshoorn, when we engage with SMMEs, a lot of them that are in the construction industry speak a lot to the struggles of categories in CIDB and being able to be graded higher, to be able to get the bigger contracts. It seems that there's quite a bit of exclusion when it comes to who's able to actually have the higher grades in CIDB to be able to get the contracts. It seems that it's reserved for those who've always been big players, and if you're a SMME, if you're a previously disadvantaged individual who owns an SMME, it becomes hard to get that grading in CIDB.
Yeah, it's a lot of commodities. Each commodity costs you at least 450 Rand. So let's say you're in the plumbing. So just to partner with government in the plumbing commodity, and CIDB, that's 450 Rand per annum, right? And that puts you in a certain category. I think it's around about 250,000 Rand that you can do in work. and that's neither here nor there.
Mm.
And then if you want to get hired, you need to prove that you have done work to that extent. Now, the only way you're going to get more work is if you have done more work.
Yes.
And that's the only way you're going to have to prove that you, like, here's my banking details, here's my statements, you can have a look at it, I have done this work. But if you haven't, then how do you upgrade? So you have to go maybe through a year, and hopefully in that year that you move from 250 to $500,000. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. And that's the struggle. But you have the capability and the capacity. Some guys, what they've done, they have worked for corporates. They've moved to their own businesses. So they have the capacity and the ability to do the project. But because they now have to start from point zero, it becomes a little bit technical.
Sure.
And so let's say there's 15 commodities, so 450 times 15 in order to partner in all of those different categories.
And what would you say is the biggest challenge for you having a business in that industry? What have been the hardest?
The compliance, because let's say you're busy with a tender with government, so you've done everything, right? And while you're busy, let's say you've got a 3-month project, and government is paying you every month, every 30 days, part by part in the project. And year month 2, your compliance drop, you're not tax compliant, and you're also not going to get paid. So that becomes hard, because that's an accounting issue that now needs to be resolved and can take a few days. And so I just feel in those ways that there should just be a communication between government, accountants, in that regard, just to make life a little bit easier. Because you're in the project right now, you're working the project, and your compliance drop.
And, I was today in a portfolio committee meeting with the Department of Trade, Industry and Competition that was about ease of doing business. And the department was presenting to us various initiatives to ease business or doing business, particularly with government, red tape reduction, and some of the initiatives that are taking place there. I think one of the biggest challenges we've identified as Build One South Africa, and actually that we've got in our growth charter, is to say have a one-stop shop, particularly for compliance. And I mean, it's one of the questions I was raising today, to say there's a presentation of this one-stop shop. How easily accessible is it for SMMEs? Because what you find is that you have CIPC, you have ITEC, you have all these various regulatory bodies and compliance bodies that you have to go and knock on this door, knock on that one. That this should actually, and some of it overlaps, this should actually all be housed at one place, and there's initiatives that are in place now to do that, and there's reports about how it has been effective in various areas, but then the question becomes, how many SMMEs can actually say they've accessed the one-stop shop, it's been of use to them, and they themselves can today say, okay, it's become easier, compliance has become easier. Have you, for instance, heard about it?
No.
Have you engaged with it?
I have not.
Not at all.
Not with the one-stop.
Not with the one-stop. And see, so those are the things where there are things that exist in theory, but this is why these conversations are important. When it comes to the practicality of it, it's not really happening. And so this helps me because I'm able to then bring, actual practical examples and say, but they're SMMEs and they are not actually accessing this. And then we bring solutions to the department to be able to say, let's make this better. What solutions do you think, as we wrap up, what solutions do you think are the most key, are the most important? What should we be asking for?
Like what you just said, I think if they communicate that through the platform of CIPC, because they have all our info, it will help, because they have the information. What would help also if they have more workshops, which they can also invite us to, and say, listen, this is actually what is the new rules and the new procedures and the new thing that is out there to partner with. But that's probably the challenge, getting to the workshop, getting the workshop to come to you. Currently, government is doing a lot of inviting people to workshops. Not everybody has the time or the resources to get to those things. So it's like at some point government also needs to journey a little bit with people and say, listen, how can we maybe set up shop maybe in that community? They have the facilities in different areas, in different communities, and maybe go there. and they can't talk about it's too dangerous because people must live there. So if it's dangerous for them,
Can't be dangerous for them. Can't be too
so
dangerous.
so I would like to see a government that is more progressive in the sense of coming to the people and sharing the information with the people, and lobbying people. They have all the small businesses information. It's not like we're out there, nobody knows about us.
Yeah. So funding wise, what would you like to see funding wise? What would make your life easier funding wise to be able to fund your business, to be able to fund your projects?
Yeah, if they would just, like for instance, if they want to fund you, they also, in some cases, they ask you for 3 years financials. Oh, that's crazy. That's accounting fees, that's quite a bit of, and then they also want to see management accounts. So that's a little bit, you just started out, you're just 3 years old, you're just finding your feet. These guys now want, so just look at my bank statements. That should be sufficient. If you can just go through that process and say, okay, there's proof, the bank account exists, there's movement, and we can see that you are doing actual work. And I think if they can just trim down on those things, man, just stop this whole bazaar. I'm not saying, I know and I understand in some cases you do need the financials, but I think if we're going to do small projects and we're talking about small monies, $500,000, I mean, really just look at the bank statement. It should help to some degree.
Sure. No, thank you so much, David. Thank you for talking to us. And really, you are encouraging me and giving me even more information as we engage, particularly on the issue of ease of doing business. Ease of doing business should not just be about foreign investment. It should not be only about how do we draw businesses in, international and global businesses in, to be able to do business easily in South Africa. It should also be about how do we make it easier for our local businesses to thrive? How do we make compliance easily accessible? How do we make funding easily accessible? How do we make support easily accessible, particularly to local businesses that are not necessarily in the center of the cities, local businesses that sit in townships as well, that are marginalized most of the time in rural areas. Ease of doing business has got to be for every business in South Africa. And if we are going to make SMMEs the backbone of our economy, we've got to make sure that we're giving them that kind of support and that we're taking them that seriously, as seriously as we would take any foreign business that wants to invest in South Africa. As always, nwebster@parliament.gov.za. If there's anything that you want to engage on, there's anything that you would like to have information on, or that you would like to contribute to as we develop more policies and legislation for South Africa's economy, then please do email me.